The first thing Sarah said to me after I arrived in the Myriad Races Realm was, "If you intend to use us as shields, tell us now." 36 people stood behind her beneath a violet sky. At least I assumed they were people. They were shaped enough like humans that my brain knew where to put the eyes, shoulders, and hands, but copper-colored scales ran from their wrists to their elbows. Their ears swept backward into narrow crests, and their golden-brown eyes reflected the dying sunlight like polished metal. Every one of them carried a spear. Every spear was pointed at the ground. That somehow felt more threatening than if they had pointed them at me. I looked behind myself. A rough stone platform. One half-built shelter. A glowing black crystal floating above a circular basin. Beyond that, red-black desert stretched toward distant cliffs. No towers. No streets. No traffic drones. No climate shields. No elevated solar rails. 30 seconds earlier, I had been standing inside N'Djamena Central Transit, watching a delivery drone argue with an autonomous taxi over whose navigation system had priority. Now I apparently owned a patch of another universe. My name was Mahamat Saleh. I was 27 years old, born and raised in Chad, professionally trained to keep complicated infrastructure from collapsing, and at that exact moment I possessed one bottle of water, a wrinkled office shirt, 36 suspicious strangers, and absolutely no idea what my health insurance covered across dimensions. Then the transparent interface appeared in front of my eyes. Welcome to the Myriad Races Realm. Class ASSIGNED. Domain Architect. Regional Assessment. Low Combat Class. I stared at it. Of course. Sarah tilted her head. What? Nothing. The universe has apparently reviewed my employment history. More text appeared. Unique talent, AWKNED. Ancestral Mesh. Access restricted to user. Initial domain radius, 1 kilometer. Initial living node capacity, 64. Initial structural node capacity, 8. Active shared pattern limit, 4. Warning, unstable resonance may cause CASCADNG failure. That last sentence got my attention. I had spent 6 years designing distributed water, power, and cooling systems. Anything containing the words cascading failure deserved respect. Usually immediately. Sarah was still watching me. You did not answer. About using U.S. shields. Yes. No. A man behind her gave a short laugh. Sarah did not. The last human lord said the same thing. What happened to him? He survived 3 days. I looked around the empty desert. And you? We survived him. I liked her already. A second interface opened when I focused on Sarah. KORI. Common grade. Bloodline integrity, 11.4%. Primary pattern, kinetic balance. Secondary TRAITS, desert adaptation, heat tolerance. Evolutionary path, incomplete. Mesh compatibility, exceptional. The man beside her showed something different. Toma. KORI. Primary pattern, deep water sense. Another woman carried enhanced low-light vision. Another had an unusually efficient cooling response. One could feel tiny vibrations through the ground. Individually, none of it looked impressive. The system certainly wasn't impressed. The regional information packet appeared a few minutes later and managed to insult them with considerably more enthusiasm. Kori were classified as a fragmented race. Cheap workers. Acceptable scouts. Poor soldiers. Almost no recorded advanced evolutions. Recommended use. Labor expendable low priority settlement duties. Sarah saw my expression. You read the description. Yes. Do you believe it? I believe whoever wrote it had a talent for making useful information sound stupid. That earned me the first hint of a smile. Then the regional rankings opened. 900,000 new arrivals had been placed across something called the Red Horizon Frontier. Every participant received a class, a territory, and either summoned retainers or a starting resource package. Combat classes dominated the early rankings. Blade Saint, Stormcaller, Beast Sovereign, Solar Warlord. That last one made my stomach tighten. Rank 3. Karim Dago. Of course he was here. Karim had been the executive heir at Helix Sahel, the company where I had worked in N'Djamena. Officially, I had been dismissed for systems noncompliance. That was corporate language for refusing to sign my name beneath a design I knew could kill people. Helix had been building a hybrid portal energy grid beneath 3 districts of the city. Karim wanted the pilot activated 6 months early. I found a load balancing flaw. Under ordinary demand, the network worked beautifully. Under simultaneous portal transit and cooling grid surge, feedback accumulated across 9 substations. Best case, everything shut down. Worst case, stored spatial energy discharged into occupied streets. I wrote a 43-page report. Karim removed my name from it. His team corrected enough of the design to make the demonstration work. Then he presented my stabilization algorithm as his own. When I refused to accept responsibility for the remaining risk, he blacklisted me across every Helix-affiliated company in Chad. My career had effectively ended 3 months before the realm selection. Karim's last words to me in N'Djamena had been delivered, while television crews crowded around the selected candidates. You were useful when someone competent gave you direction, Mahamat. Out there, nobody will. Apparently, the Myriad Races Realm had heard him and decided to run an experiment. A private message arrived. From Karim Dago. You're alive. Impressive. What class? I considered ignoring him. Then another message appeared before I answered. Solar Warlord here. Legendary grade Golden Lion Jinn, 80 starting soldiers. If you got a support class, don't be proud. I'll be establishing a protected coalition. You can apply later. I closed the window. Sarah watched me again. Enemy. Former employer. What is the difference? That time I laughed. Fair question. The protective barrier around my territory would last 7 days. Outside it, the desert contained monsters, abandoned settlements, hostile lords, wandering races, and whatever else the universe considered educational. Inside it, I had 36 Kori. No food production. No permanent water source. No proper housing. No weapons beyond what they carried. The territory core gave me 800 realm coins and enough stone to construct 1 basic building. Most lords apparently used their first money to recruit soldiers. I opened the recruitment menu. Humans were expensive. Stoneborn cost more. Winged scouts were absurd. Kori were almost insultingly cheap. I looked at Sarah. How many of your people are outside this territory? Her face hardened. Thousands. Where? Scattered, sold, summoned, wandering, serving settlements that do not want them. And if I recruit Kori, they will arrive. Do they get a choice? She frowned. No one has ever asked. That was not the answer I wanted. I focused on the Ancestral Mesh. Its description unfolded. A network is strongest when each node contributes voluntarily. Forced connection impossible. Consent required. I read that twice. Then I showed Sarah the recruitment circle and said, anyone who arrives gets told what this place is, what I can do, and that they may leave before joining anything. You would spend money recruiting people who may walk away. Yes, that is inefficient. You have known me 15 minutes and already found the insult most likely to work. Her mouth twitched. I spent 400 coins. 40 more Kori appeared inside golden rings. My living node capacity was only 64, but they did not need to join the mesh to live here. They arrived frightened. Sarah spoke to them first. Not me. I listened. 22 eventually agreed to remain. 18 chose to leave before nightfall, heading toward a caravan route Toma could sense through distant ground vibration. I gave each of them food rations from the territory core. Sarah stared at me as they walked away. You paid to summon them. I noticed, and then gave them supplies. I noticed that too. That makes no sense. Neither did Karim's portal grid. Who is Karim? My personal reminder that systems fail when one important component believes it is more important than the system. She considered that, then pointed at the half-built shelter. What will you call this settlement? Node 1. No. I blinked. No. That is a terrible name. It is descriptive. It is a storage label. I am an engineer. That is becoming obvious. She walked away before I could defend myself. By sunset, I had 58 Kori inside the barrier, 54 willing to connect to the Ancestral Mesh. I selected Sarah. A line of warm gold appeared in my vision. Consent confirmed. Pattern available. Kinetic balance. Toma agreed next. Deep water sense. Then night vision. Then heat regulation. 4 patterns. My maximum. I linked them across 8 volunteers. The mesh activated. Gold lines flickered between them for less than a second before disappearing beneath the skin. Nobody transformed. Nobody exploded. Always a good first test. Sarah took 3 steps. Stopped. Turned. Toma whispered, I can feel my weight. Sarah closed her eyes. I can feel water. The woman with night sight opened hers beneath the rapidly darkening sky. I can see everything. I suddenly understood what the system meant. The Kori were not weak. They were fragmented. And I had spent my entire adult life learning what to do with systems that had been broken into pieces. The first night nearly killed my confidence. Not my body. My confidence. There is an important distinction. When 54 people share 4 new sensory patterns for the first time, they do not instantly become an elite civilization. They become 54 people walking into walls differently. One Kori discovered improved night vision and immediately forgot that a storage crate remained physically solid after sunset. Another sensed groundwater and spent 20 minutes insisting that our drinking supply was directly beneath the latrine trench I had marked out. He was correct. I moved the latrine. Sarah enjoyed that far too much. You designed cities. Yes. In your world. Yes. And you nearly put waste above your water. I had been in this realm for 4 hours. So that is a yes. By morning, however, something remarkable had happened. The shared patterns were stabilizing. Not as copies. As adaptations. Toma still sensed underground water better than anyone, because the original pattern belonged to him. But Sarah could now detect major water concentrations. The night-sighted Kori still saw farther in darkness, while the others gained enough improvement to move safely without torches. Heat regulation spread similarly. My interface measured the effect. Mesh resonance 37. Pattern stability 82%. Collective efficiency bonus 6.3%. Resonance increased whenever linked people cooperated toward a shared purpose, not when they merely obeyed me. That difference mattered. I learned it after ordering 12 Kori to move stone because I wanted a defensive wall. Resonance barely changed. Then Sarah reorganized the same group, explained that the wall would shield sleeping families from sand prowlers, and let them choose the construction sequence. Resonance increased by 11 points in 30 minutes. I stared at the reading. Sarah noticed. What? My magical power apparently responds to good management. Then perhaps it was given to the wrong man. I am beginning to regret making you a node. You cannot remove my ability to speak. I checked. She smiled. That morning we found our first water source. Toma led us 630 meters northwest of the territory core and stopped above a patch of cracked stone. Deep. How deep? He knelt. 47 body lengths. I had no idea what a Kori body length meant as an engineering unit, but my interface translated geological depth when I focused. 82 meters. The core could construct a basic well for 120 coins. I had 400 left. I built it. Stone folded outward from the ground, forming a circular shaft surrounded by carved supports. Clear water rose through the center. Everyone cheered. Then the interface asked whether I wanted to register the well as a structural mesh node. Obviously I did. Structural node 1 of 8. Property Deicity. Pressure memory. I frowned. The well wasn't simply producing water. Its enchantment adjusted flow according to draw rate. A primitive feedback system. I connected it to the territory core. The mesh displayed both structures as points of light. Then another menu appeared. Load exchange available. My heart started beating faster. Please don't be useless. Sarah leaned over my shoulder, even though she couldn't see the interface. What are you talking to? Reality. Does it answer? Usually with documentation. The territory core produced a constant surplus of low-level spiritual energy. Normally, that surplus simply dissipated. I rooted 8% into the well. Water output increased by 21%. I stared. Then I reduced it. Output dropped. I increased it again. Stable. This wasn't a talent. This was infrastructure. By noon, I spent another 180 coins constructing a basic sunstone collector. Structural node 2. Its enchantment absorbed heat and light during the day. Excess energy normally remained trapped until used locally. I linked it to the well. Then I connected both to the unfinished shelter's cooling room. The shelter had been designed to cool one small room. The sunstone powered the well. The well's circulating water stabilized the cooling rune. The cooling rune reduced temperature around the sunstone's lower housing, improving its conversion efficiency. 3 mediocre structures became one system. Collective structural efficiency, 141%. I sat on the ground. Sarah crouched beside me. You look ill. I think I just built a magical district cooling network. I don't know what that means. It means whoever designed these structures is wasting approximately 40% of their capacity by operating them independently. You know this because my entire career was shouting that sentence at executives. That afternoon, the first monsters attacked the outer edge of the barrier. 6 sand prowlers. long-legged creatures with narrow bodies and stone-colored hides. They circled us but could not cross the protection. Sarah wanted to hunt them. I did not. Not yet. The Kori were better than the system claimed, but better than badly classified was not the same thing as invincible. Instead, we watched. Toma sensed their steps. Sarah studied their balance. The night-sighted scout tracked how their pupils adjusted to shadow. The mesh recorded patterns, but it could not copy abilities from creatures outside the network. Good. I did not want omnipotence. I wanted rules. We waited until 2 prowlers separated from the others. Sarah took 7 hunters outside. The fight lasted less than 3 minutes. The change from 1 day earlier was obvious. They moved as if they had trained together for years. Every hunter could sense vibrations well enough to know where the others were. Every hunter maintained footing on unstable sand. They saw attacks in darkness. Heat barely fatigued them. No single enhancement was dramatic. Together they were. When Sarah returned, the system chimed. First hostile creature defeated by domain force. Domain experience ACQRED. Resonance plus 28. Mahamat Saleh. Level 2 Domain Architect. Living node capacity increased from 64 to 96. Structural capacity increased from 8 to 12. That was useful. The message from Karim arrived immediately afterward. Apparently, regional ranking updates were public. Rank 114, Mahamat. Better than expected. Still using Kori. I didn't answer. Then he sent an image. Karim stood inside a sandstone fortress, surrounded by 80 golden lion jinn. They were magnificent. Tall humanoids with gold-black skin, glowing manes and curved solar blades. His territory already had proper walls. He was rank 2 now. Another message followed. I'm creating the Horizon Shield Coalition. 16 lords joined today. You should too. Terms for support classes. 70% resource contribution. Military coordination under me. Domain Core registered as coalition asset. You'll retain local administrative control. I laughed. Sarah looked over from the fire. What did reality say? Karim wants to hire me again. Is he offering money? He is offering me the privilege of giving him everything. That sounds less like employment. It was like that the first time too. I typed 1 sentence. No, thank you. His reply came 30 seconds later. Don't confuse early luck with strength. I closed the message. Then the trading market disappeared from my interface. Not completely. Only the human exchange. A notification appeared. Access limited BY Horizon Shield Trade Network. Karim had blacklisted me. Again. For several seconds, I genuinely admired the symmetry. Then Sarah asked what happened. I explained. She looked confused. Humans are not the only traders. I stopped. What? The Ember caravans trade south of here. Riverfolk use the Eastern Salt Road. Stoneborn merchants cross every 5 days. The market interface only shows human listings. Then perhaps your interface is stupid. That was how, on my second day in the Myriad Races Realm, Karim Dago accidentally forced me to discover that the realm's human economy was a tiny fraction of the actual economy. By sunset, I had exchanged processed water with an Ember caravan for grain, 2 cooling stones and 20 meters of woven shade cloth. The Ember merchant looked at my Kori guards and asked why they were carrying iron-tipped spears. Because that is what they arrived with. He stared at me. Kori can work in Burgless. Sarah turned sharply. We can what? The merchant shrugged. Old caravans used Kori glass cutters before the bloodline collapse. I felt the mesh react. Not metaphorically. A locked category flickered inside the interface. Ancestral pattern archive DETACTED. Reconstruction threshold. 7 compatible root PATTRNS. Currently identified. 4 of 7. That evening, I stood beneath the stars staring at 54 people, every local guide described as cheap labor. Somewhere inside them were 3 missing pieces. And suddenly survival was no longer the most interesting problem in front of me. We found the 5th pattern because Toma burned dinner. That sounds ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Kori cooking used flat heated stones. Toma volunteered because everyone else was repairing the western shade wall. He placed 12 strips of desert hare meat on the stone, became distracted by an argument about drainage, and left them there. 10 minutes later, smoke was rolling across the courtyard. I grabbed the nearest water jug. Toma grabbed the stone. With his bare hands, he threw it into the sand, then stared at his palms. No burns. The mesh flashed. Dormant root pattern DETCTD. Thermal sheathing. 5th pattern. The 6th came from a young woman named Anna, who could hear pressure changes before sandstorms. The 7th came from an elderly Kori called Boz, who had been quietly repairing spear shafts. Boz could look at a crack in wood and tell exactly where it would split under force. Not guess. Tell. Structural fracture sense. 7 root patterns. The interface changed. Ancestral reconstruction available. Target species. Kori. Participation requirement. Minimum 32, consenting NODES. Current eligible. 51. Cost. 420 resonance. Available. 683. Warning. Reconstruction may cause permanent biological and spiritual change. I did not activate it. Sarah noticed my silence. What did you find? I told everyone. Not only her. Everyone. That caused 3 hours of argument. Some wanted it immediately. Some thought the mesh might erase who they were. Some had spent their entire lives hearing that Kori were defective and distrusted anything promising to fix them. That word bothered me too. They were not broken machines. Eventually Sarah said, "Do not call it repair." I looked at her. The system calls it reconstruction. The system is not Kori. That ended the argument for me. What would you call it? She thought for a moment. Remembering. So the next morning, 39 Kori stood around the territory core. 12 refused. I left them disconnected from the process. Nothing happened to them. That mattered more to me than the transformation itself. I activated ancestral remembering. Golden thread spread from the core. The connected Kori stiffened. Not in pain. In recognition. Their eyes widened. Several began crying. Copper scales brightened along their arms and necks. Their swept ear crests lengthened slightly. Patterns of faint gold appeared beneath their skin. The change lasted 90 seconds. Then every interface entry rewrote itself. SUNSTRIDE KORI. Grade rare. Bloodline integrity, 46.8%. Ancestral memory, partial. Primary adaptations. Desert sense. Thermal veil. Kinetic coordination. Solar recovery. Structural instinct. Evolution path available. Sarah opened her eyes. For 1 second she looked terrified. Then she turned toward the eastern horizon. There is a settlement beyond the ridge. I frowned. We knew that. No. She pointed. Under the ridge. 3 kilometers away. She could feel inhabited stone through the ground. Our supposedly poor scouts had just become something else entirely. The regional ranking system noticed too. My domain jumped from rank 114 to rank 38. Chat exploded. People wanted to know what rare-grade troops I had acquired. Karim messaged me within minutes. You bought outside units. Smart. You'll still hit the resource wall. He had no idea. That was fine. I was busy discovering a larger problem. 39 evolved Kori generated more resonance in 6 hours than 54 had generated during the previous 2 days. Their work became faster. Communication became almost instinctive. A sunstride Kori could feel another connected Kori's position through subtle ground vibrations. When one discovered a better method for cutting in burgless, the mesh preserved the process pattern. Not the physical skill itself. The information. That distinction changed everything. I recruited 6 blacksmiths from a stone-born caravan. They were not Kori. The mesh accepted them anyway after they volunteered. One was named Kibo. He had 32 years of metalworking experience and a personality constructed entirely from criticism. The first sword one of my Kori smiths made earned a 3-minute silence from him. Finally Kibo said, "This blade has 2 strengths." The smith looked hopeful. "It is straight. And there is no second strength." I hired him immediately. Kibo's forging technique became a process pattern. He consented to share the parts that were his personal craft rather than stone-born clan secrets. That boundary mattered. Within 3 days, 12 Kori apprentices were producing weapons that would normally require months of training. Not because the mesh magically moved their hands, because it eliminated repetition of solved mistakes. If Kibo discovered that a certain imberglass ratio became brittle below a particular heat, every linked apprentice knew not to repeat that failure. If one apprentice developed a better grip for a Kori wrist structure, every compatible apprentice could learn the motion faster. Progress stopped being isolated. I understood the implications before anyone else. A normal settlement improved person by person. Mine could improve as a network. That was the moment my ambition changed. I stopped trying to survive 7 days. I started planning a city. The territory upgraded on day 6. My 1-kilometer domain expanded to 4. Living capacity rose to 512. Structural nodes to 48. Pattern capacity increased from 4 active shared patterns to 12. I built water towers, then shade corridors, then linked cooling stones beneath the main walking paths. The Kori hated my nomming scheme. Reservoir 2 is finished, I told Sarah. It is called Moon Basin. There is already a Moon Basin. That is the northern one. So this is Reservoir 2. This is Little Moon. That is objectively less precise. She ignored me. The settlement itself became Kadara. Sarah said the word meant the place where paths meet in an old Kori trade dialect. I suspected she invented that explanation specifically to prevent me from calling it Central Node. It worked. By the end of the first week, the barrier disappeared. Nothing dramatic happened. No invading army. No cosmic catastrophe. 3 human scouts approached that afternoon. They represented a lord allied with Karim. Their leader looked around Kadara for nearly a minute. The settlement had changed fast. Sand-colored walls curved around shaded courtyards. Sunstone panels lined roofs. Narrow cooling channels carried water beneath bronze grates. Indigo awnings stretched across market lanes. Kori children ran between stone-born workshops, while ember merchants unloaded glass fruit. The scouts seemed disappointed. We were told this was a failing Kori camp. So was I. He handed me Karim's formal notice. Horizon Shield controlled most human trade routes in our region now. Any independent human lord was expected to register. Karim had raised the contribution rate. 75%. I read the document, then handed it back. No. The scout sighed. Lord Karim said you'd say that. Then this journey seems inefficient. He also said you're building dangerously fast. That's nicer. He said your system is unstable. That stopped me. Why? The scout hesitated. Because your people move like they share thoughts. I understood immediately. Karim had found my weak point. Not a magical one. A political one. Rumors had already started spreading that I was creating a hive. That the Kori had no independence. That my rapid, industrial growth came from magically controlling workers. It was plausible. Worse, it was exactly the kind of accusation I couldn't defeat by simply becoming stronger. Sarah listened after the scouts left. Then said, Karim is wrong. I know, but not completely. I looked at her. She crossed her arms. You like the mesh? Yes. You like watching the numbers improve? Yes. You describe workers as nodes. I opened my mouth. Closed it. You think about whether people fit the system before asking whether the system fits people. That is not fair. It is very fair. That is why you dislike it. Karim had found the same flaw she had. I could not ignore that just because he was my enemy. So we built something I had never planned. A mesh charter. Every participant could see what categories of knowledge they shared. Every participant could disconnect. No military unit could be linked without individual consent. No private memory could enter the network. No skill belonging to a clan, family, or profession could be propagated without the originator's permission. More importantly, the council controlling access included more non-humans than humans. I gave away authority over my own talent. It felt terrible, which was probably evidence that I needed to do it. 2 days later, applications to join Kadara tripled. Karim's rumor had forced me to build trust faster than I otherwise would have. I sent him a thank you message. He did not reply. That was petty. I enjoyed it. By day 12, Kadara had 1,870 residents from 9 races. The regional system ranked my territory 7th. Karim was first. Then one of my survey teams found something beneath the southern dunes. A wall. Not ruins. A wall. It ran underground for at least 14 kilometers. The stone contained no seams. Kibo could not identify the material. Sarah placed one hand against it. Her face changed. What? This was built for something stronger than us. How much stronger? She looked at me. I cannot feel the bottom. That night, the Ancestral Mesh opened a category I had never seen. External Network Architecture, DETACTED. Access DNIED. Authority insufficient. For the first time since arriving, I looked at my rapidly growing city and wondered whether we were not building something new at all. Maybe we were standing inside the remains of something far older. By day 20, Karim controlled 43 human territories. I controlled none. That distinction confused people. Kadara had 6 allied settlements connected through trade roads and mesh relay towers, but every one remained legally independent. I could not order their rulers around. Karim could. That made his coalition look stronger on paper. It also made mine much harder to describe. The regional rankings eventually settled on calling us the Kadara Network. I hated the name because it was too vague. Sarah loved it because, in her words, for once the system named something better than you would. Karim's Horizon Shield had military power. Real military power. His 80 Golden Lion Jinn had become 240 after reinforcements from Helix-sponsored lords. Each one could generate solar flame hot enough to melt ordinary stone. Karim himself had reached the 6th mark, one level below what the Red Horizon frontier considered legendary. I was still technically 3rd mark. Personally, at least. Inside Kadara, that number had become almost meaningless. The Ancestral Mesh reflected a fraction of stable network adaptations back into me. Not full abilities. Small percentages. My balance improved. Heat barely bothered me. I could see in darkness. I sensed structural weakness in walls. I could feel connected infrastructure, as if it were an extension of my body. When I stood near a water tower, I knew its pressure. When I touched a sunstone junction, I could feel energy loss. When I entered a linked workshop, I could sense production bottlenecks without asking anyone. My territory had become my larger body. That was useful. It was also deeply strange. The real breakthrough came from agriculture. Riverfolk farmers joined us from the east. They understood flood cycles. Kori understood desert soil. Stoneborn knew mineral balance. A tiny green-skinned people called the Vel cultivated fungi that trapped moisture beneath sand. Individually, each culture produced food suited to its environment. Connected, they created something new. Within 11 days, our experimental fields produced 3.4 times the expected yield using 41% less water. The surplus entered the non-human trade routes. Money followed. Then craftsmen. Then healers. Then transport guilds. Karim's blockade became irrelevant. By day 26, Kadara was the largest trading settlement in the southern Red Horizon. I received 317 human merchant applications in one morning. Sarah read the list. Are these the people who refuse to trade with us? Some, and you're accepting them, if they follow the same market rules. She studied me. That is disappointingly mature. I can reject 5 for emotional balance. Better. We rejected none. Karim did not make the same mistake twice. He stopped trying to isolate us economically. Instead, he adapted. His coalition began undercutting prices on military-grade materials. He offered security contracts to caravan routes. He recruited healers. He reduced his resource contribution demand from 75% to 50%. Then 40%. He was competent. That mattered. I had spent years hatting him enough that part of me wanted him to be stupid. He wasn't. Karim had built Helix systems because he understood power. His weakness had never been intelligence. It was believing that ownership and leadership were the same thing. He called me directly on day 28. His image appeared above the territory core. He wore black gold armor now. Behind him, Golden Lion Jinn drilled inside a fortress large enough to hold Kadara's original settlement 3 times over. You're creating a problem. Good morning. I'm serious. So am I. Good morning. He exhaled. You always did that. Did what? Acted like refusing to be intimidated was the same as winning. I leaned against the core. What do you want? The Black Sun migration begins in 22 days. I knew. Everyone knew. For the last week, monsters had been moving north. Not attacking. Moving. Entire packs abandoned established hunting grounds. Flying creatures crossed the sky in numbers large enough to dim sunlight. The system forecast classified the coming event as a regional calamity. Every 30 years, millions of creatures migrated across the red horizon. The established survival strategy was fortress consolidation. Small settlements evacuated. Large lords absorbed them. Karim's moment had arrived. He knew it. I can protect the southern territories, he said. You can protect the people who enter your fortresses. That is how protection works. No, that's how centralization works. His eyes narrowed. There are 12 independent settlements between your city and the projected migration line. Their combined military strength is lower than one of my battalions. I know. They will die. I know. Then stop playing engineer and tell them to evacuate. That irritated me more than it should have. Probably because part of me feared he was right. The 12 settlements had 18,400 people. Some were stone-born quarry towns. 2 were river-folk agricultural colonies. 1 belonged to winged traders. 3 had mixed populations. None could survive the migration independently. Karim offered shelter. The price was permanent incorporation into Horizon Shield. Not temporary evacuation. Permanent. I said, if they want to join you, I won't stop them. They will. Then why are you calling me? Silence. That was my answer. He wasn't certain. People trusted Kadara. Karim knew it. You cannot mesh 12 settlements, he said. Your system has limits. That bothered me. I had never told him the name of my talent. His face changed when he saw my reaction. There it is. Who told you? No one. People talk. Your towers synchronize. Your soldiers share reactions. Your factories improve simultaneously. I ran the same numbers you would. For the first time, I smiled with genuine respect. You figured out the architecture. Enough of it, and enough to know you're approaching failure. He was right again. My living node capacity had expanded to 8,192. Kadara's population was already above that. Only critical workers, scouts, defense teams, and infrastructure operators were linked. Connecting 12 settlements would require relay architecture beyond anything I had attempted. Karim continued. You always overbuild elegant systems until one variable refuses to behave. I said nothing. At Helix it was people. That grid would have failed. Yes. The answer surprised me. He looked away briefly. I know. For 3 years, I had imagined hearing that admission. It felt smaller than expected. Then why did you bury the report? Because the board would have canceled the project. My father would have replaced me. Your correction gave us a path forward. You stole it. Yes. No apology. Just truth. I was wrong about the risk, he said. I was not wrong that your design thinking ignores politics. And you think this is politics. I think 18,000 people will die while you try to prove distributed systems are morally superior to walls. That sentence stayed with me. After the call, I walked Kadara for 3 hours. Past the moon basins. Not reservoirs 1 and 2, apparently civilization had standards. Past Imbergles workshops glowing orange beneath ventilated roofs. Past shaded markets where 6 species argued over pepper prices. past children splashing in water channels that technically existed for thermal regulation. I had built an argument. Karim had built another. His argument was simple. Concentrate power. Control resources. Protect what obeys you. Mine was messier. Share knowledge. Distribute power. Trust people to participate voluntarily. The migration would test which ones survived contact with reality. The next morning, representatives from all 12 threatened settlements arrived. I did not offer them annexation. I offered relay towers, temporary mesh connection, shared reconnaissance, shared water, shared defenses, shared evacuation routes. Their authority would remain theirs. 8 accepted immediately. 4 refused. That was fine. 3 returned 2 days later. The last, a stone-born settlement called Barak, chose Karim. Also fine. Sarah watched me after they left. You wanted all 12. Yes. You are angry. Yes. You did not threaten them. No. She smiled slightly. You are improving. I hate this lesson. I know. We began building. 800 workers. 71 relay towers. 9 linked settlements. Then 11. Sensor coverage expanded to 460 kilometers. Winged scouts fed aerial movement into Kori ground sensing. Riverfolk monitored underground water disruption. Vel fungi responded to vibration patterns. Every race perceived a different piece of the migration. The mesh combined them. For the first time, I could see the black sun before it arrived. Not with my eyes. Through thousands of signals. Millions of creatures moving across the desert. And beneath them something else. A pulse. Slow. Deep. Regular. Every 113 seconds. Coming from the buried wall beneath Kadera. The monsters were not migrating randomly. Something under our city was calling them. The black sun arrived on day 51. At sunrise, the western horizon became dark. Not metaphorically. Dark. Winged beasts filled the upper sky, while land creatures moved beneath them in a living band, more than 60 kilometers wide. Dust climbed high enough to turn the sun bronze. Our 11 settlements went silent over the mesh. No jokes. No market arguments. No Kibo insulting apprentice swords. Just signals. Positions. Water levels. Tower load. Civilian counts. Defense readiness. I stood on Kadera's southern wall with Sarah. She had changed again. All 39 original Sunstride Kori had. Months of shared ancestral patterns, resonance and deliberate training had pushed them into their next stage. Crown Kori. Their copper scales now formed elegant geometric bands along their arms and shoulders. Gold markings traced the sides of their faces. Sarah could sense major ground movement nearly 20 kilometers away. More importantly, the Crown Kori had recovered ancestral memories. Not personal memories. Cultural fragments. Images of enormous cities. Gateways. Multi-race armies. And towers almost identical to the buried structures beneath Kadera. The Kori had once been part of something much larger. Then their bloodline had been intentionally shattered. Why remained unknown. The migration hit our westernmost settlement at 8:17 in the morning. Thousands of horned runners crashed toward its defenses. Before the local commander even issued instructions, nearby settlements already knew. Winged scouts redirected. 3 relay towers shifted power. Stoneborn engineers reinforced the correct wall. Kori teams opened a planned channel through the southern defenses. The monsters followed the easier path. Not into civilians. Into an empty stone basin. Riverfolk released stored water. The sand turned to heavy mud. The charge collapsed without requiring a massacre. That pattern repeated. Not identically. The mesh was not a script. Every settlement adapted. One used sound beacons. Another opened grain fields because its migrating creatures were herbivores and simply wanted food. A third faced predators that could not be redirected. Its defense teams fought. Kadara sent support before they asked. Karim's horizon shield fought differently. Solar fire lit the northern horizon. His golden lion jinn were magnificent. Entire monster waves broke against his fortress. His casualties remained low. For 6 hours, both systems worked. Then the deep pulse accelerated. 113 seconds. Then 90. Then 71. Sarah grabbed the wall. Her eyes widened. Something is coming. Every crown Kori felt it. The desert lifted. 50 kilometers west, a shape rose through the dust. At first, I thought it was a mountain. Then it moved. The drought tightened. Regional records described it as the greatest known creature of the Red Horizon frontier. It appeared once every few centuries. Settlements did not fight it. They moved. Its body resembled a walking cliff of dark stone, layered with enormous plates. Each step displaced enough sand to create visible waves. The interface refused to measure its full strength. Calamity entity. Local threat category, maximum. The regional chat stopped. Then Karim called. No greeting this time. Evacuate. We have 18,000 people in the southern network. My eastern gate is open. That surprised me. To everyone. Yes. No oath requirement. No incorporation. Maybe he was learning too. Sarah looked toward the Titan. Mahamat. I could feel the pulse beneath Kadara. Faster now. The Titan was walking directly toward us. Not Karim. Not the largest human fortress. Us. I closed my eyes. The network unfolded inside my awareness. 71 relay towers. 14 major water systems. 23 sunstone arrays. 11 settlements. Winged scouts. Kori ground sensors. Stoneborn fracture readers. Thousands of measurements. The Titan's footsteps aligned with the underground pulse. Exactly. I understood. It isn't attacking. Sarah looked at me. What? It is following. The pulse beneath Kadara intensified whenever the Titan turned slightly away. Like a beacon correcting course. I sent a message across the network. All sensors prioritize subterranean resonance. Data flooded in. Too much. My vision went white. Blood warmed beneath my nose. Resonance overload. I disconnected 6 non-critical systems. The pressure dropped. Patterns emerged. The buried wall wasn't a wall. It was part of a ring. A structure beneath the entire region. And the signal calling the Titan came from 1.3.2 kilometers beneath Kadara. Karim called again. Mahamat, move. If we evacuate, it follows. Silence. What? The Titan isn't migrating. It's responding to a signal under my territory. How certain? Enough. That isn't an answer. 93%. He swore. Finally, someone who respected uncertainty. What do you need? That question changed something between us. Not forgiveness. Nothing so dramatic. But the man who had once stolen my work was asking how to support it. I need time. You have maybe 40 minutes. Then buy me 41. Karim's golden lion jinn moved. They did not attack the Titan directly. That would have been suicidal. Instead, they struck migrating packs approaching Kadura, clearing pressure from our Western network. He gave me room. I turned toward the underground signal. 72 towers could reach it. We had 71. Of course, reality wanted one more. Where is Tower 72? Sarah asked. Not built. Then build it. We need a resonance crystal. Kibo has one. Kibo said that crystal was reserved for the Eastern Forge. Sarah stared at me. Ask him. I would prefer fighting the Titan. We found Kibo. I explained. He looked offended. You want my forge crystal? Yes. The one I waited 19 days for. Yes. The one that doubles Imberglass output. Yes. He stared toward the enormous moving mountain. Then back at me. You will replace it. If we survive. With 2. Kibo. 3. Sarah covered her mouth. 2. Done. Tower 72 rose 19 minutes later. I linked every major structural node. The system screamed warnings. Load limit exceeded. Structural mesh instability, 31%. I redirected water pressure through cooling channels. Used the moon basins as thermal sinks. Shifted sunstone arrays from commercial districts. Disconnected workshops. The city dimmed. Then the 11 settlements joined. Their towers fed the network. The underground signal became visible to me as a shape. Not literally. As behavior. A repeating command. Call. Answer. Call. Answer. I did what I had done to malfunctioning systems in Unjamena. I did not overpower it. I isolated it. 72 towers generated synchronized counter-resonance. The first pulse failed. The Titan stopped. 30 kilometers away. Every creature around it continued moving. The Titan simply froze. Second pulse. Blocked. Third. Blocked. The ancient signal fought back. Our eastern towers overloaded. Stoneborn crews redistributed load. Riverfolk dumped emergency water into cooling trenches. Crown Kori synchronized vibration, damping through the ground. The mesh reached 98% safe capacity. I pushed one more fraction. The underground beacon shut down. Silence. The Titan remained motionless for 13 seconds. Then its colossal head turned. Not toward Kadera. South. It walked away. No explosion. No final attack. A mountain simply changed its mind. The regional system tried to process what happened. It took almost a minute. Then every participant received the same notification. Regional calamity, DIVERTD. Primary contributor. AMAHMATSALEH. Domain output calculation. Error. Output EXCEDS, regional measurement limit. Please consult higher authority. For the first time since I had arrived, I had no sarcastic response. Karim called. His face appeared. He looked exhausted. Behind him, Golden Lion Jinn rested against fortress walls. He stared at me. Then laughed once. You broke the ranking system. I prefer exceeded design tolerance. Of course you do. The Black Sun migration continued for another 2 days. Our network lost buildings, fields, 3 relay towers. 17 people suffered serious injuries. Nobody in the 11 settlements died. Karim's fortress survived too. So did Barak. When the crisis ended, every independent settlement in the southern region held a vote. Not one joined Horizon Shield. 7 asked to permanently enter the Kadara network. 4 remained allied but independent. Karim's coalition began losing smaller members. He did not collapse overnight. Real power rarely does. But the direction had changed. 2 weeks later, the regional sovereignty system opened. Territories could voluntarily recognize a regional anchor without surrendering internal rule. Karim received 28 recognitions. I received 64. The system named Kadara the first sovereign domain of the Red Horizon frontier. My class advanced. Domain Architect, Sovereign Architect. My personal mark jumped from 3rd to 7th. Local Legendary level. The strongest threshold our region officially recognized. Karim visited in person 3 days later. He walked through Kadara without guards. People recognized him. Nobody attacked him. Sarah met us at the underground excavation. He looked at the enormous black gold structure we had uncovered beneath the city. So this is what called the Titan. Yes. Can you turn it on? I've learned not to answer that question quickly. He smiled faintly. That might be the most growth you've shown. We reached the central gate. 30 meters tall. Black metal threaded with gold. Crown Kori symbols covered its base. Sarah touched the surface. The entire structure woke. My interface opened automatically. Sovereign authority confirmed. Local threshold ACHIVD. ACCSSING Nursery Network. I stopped breathing. Karim read my face. What? I whispered the words as they appeared. Nursery Ring 7. The gate activated. A map unfolded above us. Our entire known continent appeared. Then shrank. Another region appeared around it. Then another. Concentric structures. Worlds. 81 enormous rings surrounding a central expanse of light. Text translated through the mesh. Nursery Ring 7. Protected Developmental Region. Authorized Entering Travel Requirement. Foundational Sovereign Capability. Current User Status. Minimum Requirement ACHIVD. Karim stared upward. Sarah whispered minimum. I had spent 57 days becoming stronger than the regional system could measure. Apparently all I had accomplished was qualifying to leave the children's area without supervision. The gateway opened 3 days later. We did not activate it. That distinction mattered. At 4:12 in the morning, every relay tower in Kadara rang once. No alarm. No attack signal. One clean note. The black gold gate unfolded like an eye. Beyond it was not darkness. It was a road. A road through stars. 3 people walked through. The first looked human, until I noticed the tiny constellations moving beneath her dark skin. The second was nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and a coat woven from metallic fibers. The third appeared to be a teenage boy carrying a wooden case and chewing something purple. Sarah immediately moved between them and me. The boy looked at her, then at the gate, then back at her. Crown Kori. His chewing stopped. That reaction bothered me more than fear would have. The dark-skinned woman raised both hands. No hostility. Her voice translated itself before reaching my ears. I am Nea Sin of the Caravan of 12 Horizons. We detected unauthorized reactivation of Nursery Passage 7. Karim had insisted on being present. For once, I appreciated his paranoia. His golden lion commander stood 30 meters away. Naya glanced at him, then at me. Which of you opened the passage? Karim pointed at me immediately. I looked at him. That was fast. You wanted credit for everything else. Naya focused on me. Cultivation. 7th mark. She waited. I realized she expected more. That is the highest rank here. Oh, 1 syllable. Not mocking. Not impressed. Informational. The four-armed man asked, equivalent foundational density. Naya examined me again. Approximately. Karim's expression became beautiful. I would remember it forever. The most powerful class in our region had just been translated into approximately. Then the teenage boy dropped his wooden case. It hit the stone floor. The pressure from the impact cracked a line 3 meters across the excavation chamber. He stared down. Sorry. I stared at him. He couldn't have been older than 16. Naya sighed. Jory. I said sorry. Sarah leaned toward me. Do not recruit him. I wasn't thinking that. You were. I was assessing. That is your word for thinking about recruiting people. The outsiders heard us. Jory grinned. Good. At least embarrassment survived across cosmic civilization. Naya explained the basics. The Myriad Races Realm was not one continent. Not one planet. Not even one dimension. It was a connected structure of 81 world rings surrounding the ancestral expanse. Nursery rings existed to shelter developing civilizations. Most species inside them were descendants of refugees, colonists, damaged bloodlines, abandoned frontier populations or cultures intentionally isolated after ancient wars. Our region's highest rank, 7th mark, corresponded roughly to the lowest stable category expected of an unsupervised traveler. That did not make me weak. Naya emphasized that point when she saw my expression. You have become powerful very quickly by nursery standards. That's a polite sentence. It is meant politely. And by your standards. She considered. You could survive entering the outer expanse. Survive. If you are careful. Karim laughed. I looked at him. He raised both hands. I have been waiting 57 days for you to hear something you can't optimize. Naya asked, optimize. Sarah said, do not encourage him. Then Naya examined the ancestral mesh. Or tried to. She could not see the interface. But when I linked 3 nearby structural nodes, her expression sharpened. Do that again. I did. The four-armed man stepped forward. He introduced himself as Tao, a systems scholar. Finally, someone useful. He examined the resonance movement. Asked questions. Then more questions. Then questions so technical that Karim left after 40 minutes, and Sarah began making faces behind Tao's back. Tao finally stopped. What did you call your class? Domain architect. No. That is what the system called it. No, that is what your nursery interface translated it as. He looked at Naya. She had gone very still. What? Naya said, connect to Kori. Sarah agreed. I linked her. Naya's eyes widened. Voluntary authorization. Yes. Pattern propagation. Yes. Cross-species. Yes. Structural integration. Yes. Tal whispered something in a language my translation did not recognize. Then Naya said the words that changed the second half of my life. Conquered architect. Sarah looked at me. I looked at Naya. What is that? A dead profession. Comforting. Not dead as in unpopular. Less comforting. The conquered architects vanished approximately 12,000 expanse years ago. Their networks connected cities, species, and eventually entire worlds. The gate behind her displayed its old symbols. Several matched the gold patterns now visible on Crown Kori's skin. Tal pointed. The Kori were a conquered linked race. Sarah stopped breathing. Naya continued. Not servants, anchors. That word mattered. What happened to them? We don't know. Sarah's voice became quiet. Our bloodlines were broken. Yes. By whom? We don't know. For the first time, Naya looked uncomfortable. Most surviving conquered records were deliberately erased. The mesh reacted. Locked categories flashed through my vision. City mesh. Regional mesh. World mesh. INTRWRLD mesh. The first two were open. The third flickered. The fourth remained black. I suddenly understood why my ability kept expanding faster than local structures could explain. It had never been designed for a settlement. Kadara was a training exercise. That afternoon, Naya demonstrated what higher-scale strength actually meant. Not intentionally. A section of the gate destabilized. 30 tons of ancient metal shifted from the ceiling. Karim's Golden Lion commander moved. Sarah moved. I reached for structural control. Naya simply looked upward. The falling metal stopped. No spell circle. No visible energy. It stopped because she decided its movement was inconvenient. Then it returned to its original position. I stared. She noticed. That was not power. It stopped 30 tons. Mass control is basic expanse navigation. Karim muttered, I hate these people. I agreed. Then the gate destabilized again. This time, every symbol flared red. Naya's expression changed. Close the passage. I didn't open it. The nursery barrier is using your network as authorization. I accessed the gate. The interface refused. World authority incomplete. Tal swore. The old system recognizes him as a conquered successor, but his domain hasn't become a world anchor. What happens if we don't close it? Naya looked toward the Star Road. Your nursery loses isolation. How bad? Other caravans find you. That doesn't sound terrible. Caravans are the polite possibility. I understood. Something stronger than the Black Sun migration had noticed the door opening. And for the first time since arriving in the Myriad Races Realm, becoming more powerful had created a problem that more local power could not automatically solve. We had 19 days before the barrier weakened beyond self-repair. Tal calculated it twice. I calculated it 3 times because I did not trust anyone whose mathematics included units translated as world breaths. The answer remained 19 days. Closing the gate required world-level authorization. World-level authorization required activating 64 ancient anchors distributed across Nursery Ring 7. The nearest was beneath Kadara. The farthest was 18,000 kilometers away. I had never traveled farther than 600 kilometers from my own city. Naya could reach the distant anchors quickly. She could not activate them. Nursery law prohibited outside civilization from claiming anchor authority. Karim could not. Sarah could not. Only a recognized native sovereign architect connected to enough independent territories could form the required world network. Me. Naturally, the universe had promoted me from unemployed engineer to planetary maintenance department in less than 2 months. I was beginning to miss ordinary infrastructure complaints. The first problem was politics. Nursery Ring 7 did not contain one kingdom. It contained thousands. Human territories, stoneborn city-states, river civilizations, nomadic sky clans, forest races, buried nations, species I had never heard of. To activate the anchors, I needed voluntary participation from at least 32 sovereign regions. Not allegiance. Consent. That should have made things easier. It did not. Most had no idea who I was. Some knew the Drought Titan story and assumed it was exaggerated. Others heard shared magical network and assumed exactly what Karim had accused me of building. A hive. Karim's rumor had traveled farther than I had. He came to Kadara on the 3rd day of negotiations. I can help. I looked up from 41 rejected diplomatic responses. I am emotionally unprepared for that sentence. I have contacts. You have enemies. Contacts who dislike me are still contacts. Fair. His coalition had shrunk from 43 territories to 19 after the migration. Still significant. He had lost regional dominance but not competence. More surprisingly, he had changed the Horizon Shield Charter. No permanent resource seizures. No mandatory core registration. Emergency military authority required council approval. I read the amendments twice. You rewrote the coalition. Yes. Why? Because yours worked. I waited for sarcasm. None came. Karim looked toward Kadara through the open balcony. You know what irritated me most? There are many possibilities. You didn't beat me. I definitely beat you. No, you proved that my model produced exactly what you said it would. His jaw tightened. Dependency. For a moment, I saw the man from Helix before ambition had swallowed him. Then he ruined it. Your naming conventions are still criminal. I pointed toward the door. Sarah, listening nearby, laughed. Karim helped. Not because we were friends. We were not. He contacted human lords who would ignore me. Nea spoke to caravanling species. Sarah became our most effective negotiator because Crown Kori ancestry carried old recognition among desert races. Still, progress was slow. 21 sovereign regions. 24. 27. Then stopped. I reacted the way I always did. I optimized. I designed simplified mesh charters, created minimal connection modes, restricted shared information, built 3 different consent protocols, mapped communication efficiency, proposed anchor authority distribution. The documents were flawless. Applications declined. I created better documents. More declines. On day 11, Sarah removed the data tablet from my hands. No. I am using that. Badly. We have 8 days. And you have forgotten how people work. I understand exactly how they work. That sentence is the problem. I stood. Sarah, if we don't reach 32 regions, the barrier fails. I know. Then what do you want me to do? Talk to them. I have been talking to them. You have been explaining systems. Because the system matters. So does fear. I went quiet. She continued. These rulers hear that a strange human in a distant desert wants permission to connect himself to their land. You respond with diagrams. They are excellent diagrams. They are terrifying diagrams. That felt unfair. She placed the tablet down. Tell them you are afraid too. I almost laughed. She did not. I don't need them to know how I feel. Yes, you do. Why? Because you are asking them to trust someone they have never met. I hated this lesson too. The next world call included representatives from 9 undecided regions. I threw away the presentation. Mostly. I kept one diagram. I have limits. I told them about Unjamena, about Helix, about the report, about what it felt like to know a system could fail and watch powerful people activate it anyway. I told them about Kadera, about the first Kori who left after I recruited them, about Sarah forcing me to understand that consent written into magical rules did not automatically make me a good leader. Then I told them the truth. I cannot guarantee the mesh is safe at world scale. Nobody has done this here in recorded history. I can tell you what I know. I can give every region the ability to disconnect. I can distribute anchor control so I cannot hold it alone. And if the network begins failing, your regions will be able to cut me out before I can stop you. One ruler asked, "Why would you design a system that allows us to remove you?" Because if the only thing preventing me from abusing power is my promise not to, then the system is badly designed. Sarah smiled off-screen. By sunset, we had 33. Then 37. Then 46. Enough. The second problem was magical. Connecting Kadara had nearly overloaded me during the Drought Titan event. Connecting 11 settlements had pushed me to 98%. A world network should have killed me instantly. The solution came from the crown Kori. Sarah showed me an ancestral memory. Conquered architects never carried entire networks through one mind. They used anchors. Trusted individuals or structures held local complexity. The architect coordinated the anchors rather than every node. Distributed processing. I nearly hugged her. She stepped backward. No, I wasn't going to. You absolutely were. We built 64 regional subnets. Each sovereign region chose its own anchor keeper. Some chose rulers, others priests, engineers, guild councils. One region chose a tree. Nea assured me the tree was competent. I decided I did not need further explanation. Karim became the human Western anchor. That decision caused arguments. I supported him. He was good at pressure. He understood power distribution. More importantly, he now understood what happened when one node hoarded too much. On day 17, 63 anchors activated. One remained. The Kadara anchor. Mine. Nea stood beside the gate. If you complete this, the system may change your class. Good. It may also make you visible. To whom? We don't know. That phrase is becoming repetitive. Tal had discovered another problem. 3 faint signals were already probing the damaged barrier from outside. Not individuals. Automated claim systems. Something in the wider expanse had noticed Nursery Ring 7. 3 different powers were checking whether the world was abandoned. If any claim beacon entered before our world network stabilized, Old Expanse law could classify the nursery as unadministered territory. Karim looked at Nea. You said outsiders couldn't claim nursery worlds. Living civilizations cannot knowingly violate nursery law. And automated systems. Nea grimaced. Ancient law contains ancient loopholes. For once, Karim and I said the same thing. I hate lawyers. The first external signal touched the barrier. Every tower in Kadora rang. I placed my hand on the ancient anchor. The interface opened. World Mesh initialization available. Warning: user identity may become permanently bound to network. Warning: failure may damage connected anchors. Warning: world-scale resonance EXCEEDS current safe capacity by 4,821%. Sarah read my face. How bad? Bad. Specific. 48 times above my safe limit. Karim whistled. Naya said, "You can leave." Everyone turned. She pointed toward the gateway. "The caravan can take you through now. If you cross before the barrier fails, your architect's signature leaves with you. The claim systems may ignore this world." May. Probably. How probably? 70%. I stared at her. She looked apologetic. "You prefer numbers." I did. That was the worst number I had heard all month. If I left, I would enter the real Myriad Races Realm. The place beyond the pond. I could learn, grow, become stronger. I could escape responsibility for a world I had known for less than 3 months. No one could accuse me of cowardice. I had already saved the region. I had already beaten Karim. I had already become locally legendary. For 10 seconds, leaving felt reasonable. Then I looked at Sarah. Not a node. Not a military asset. Sarah. Then at Kedora. The moon basins I still privately considered reservoirs 1 and 2. The markets. The workshops. The ridiculous shade cloth over the eastern street, because ember traders refused to admit they hated direct sunlight. This place had become home, while I was busy treating it like a project. I put my hand back on the anchor. Connect me. World-scale resonance did not feel powerful. It felt crowded. Not voices. Not thoughts. Wait. Rain falling in a forest 12,000 kilometers away. Stone pressure beneath a mountain city. Ocean currents turning against reef towers. Wind moving through floating settlements. Heat over Kedara. 64 anchor keepers. 46 sovereign regions. Millions of people I could not see. For the first second, I tried to process everything. The mesh nearly collapsed. Sarah struck me across the face. Hard. My concentration snapped. What was that? You were doing it again. Doing what? Trying to hold everything yourself. The world network flashed red. She was right. Of course she was right. I stopped processing. I delegated. Eastern hydrology stayed with eastern anchors. Sky route stayed with winged regions. Mountain pressure remained local. I accepted only status summaries. Load. Stability. Resonance direction. The pressure dropped. 4,821% overload became 760%. Still fatal. Then 290%. Then 118%. The anchors began balancing each other. Distributed network. Not mine. Ours. World mesh stability, 61%. The first claim beacon entered the outer barrier. Naya detected it. 4 minutes. What does it do? Marks the world with a provisional ownership signature. Can we destroy it? Yes. Karim drew his solar blade. Naya finished, if you can reach interstitial space. He slowly lowered it. I almost smiled. Not because it was funny. Because 2 months earlier, his answer to every problem had been more power. Now he recognized when power did not apply. The beacon approached through a dimensional layer none of us could physically enter. But infrastructure could. The 64 anchors already touched the barrier. I focused. The external object appeared as a cold shape in the mesh. Not alive. Not intelligent. A legal machine. Of course, the first cosmic threat to my world was bureaucracy. The beacon transmitted. UNAD nursery, asset DTCTD. Initiating provisional claim. I sent back the only response available. Sovereign network initializing. The beacon paused. Then, authority insufficient. That annoyed me. Mahamat Saleh said, 2 minutes. World mesh stability reached 72%. Too slow. The second external claimant touched the barrier. Then the third. 3 automated systems. 3 different signatures. All competing to claim us. Tal shouted from the gate controls. They're accelerating because they detected one another. Naturally, even cosmic scavengers hated losing market share. I examined the world network. 64 anchors were active, but we were still treating them as equal infrastructure nodes. They were not equal. Some sat near enormous mana concentrations, some beneath oceans, some within mountains. Our system was technically connected, but poorly balanced. Exactly the kind of architecture I had spent my career fixing. I began routing load. Not power. Responsibility. High-capacity anchors took barrier stabilization. Fast-response anchors handled claim interference. Stable mountain anchors stored resonance. Ocean anchors absorbed fluctuation. Kadara remained coordination. Karim's western anchor carried emergency surge because Golden Lion Jin could stabilize solar output better than almost anyone. He felt the increase. Through the mesh his status flashed. Western anchor accepts load. He answered immediately. Yes. For someone who once stole control, he was learning to ask for it. Stability jumped. 81%. 88%. The first beacon reached claim range. Initiating provisional mark. I could feel the process. A foreign signature trying to write itself into our barrier. I remembered something from Helix. Portal grids used handshake protocols. No connection occurred instantly. Systems exchanged identity first. The claim beacon needed acknowledgement from the world infrastructure, even if the old nursery system automatically supplied it. I searched the anchor controls. There, a passive response routine, 12,000 years old, still answering external probes. I disabled it. The first beacon stalled. Tal shouted, "What did you do?" Stopped us politely, answering the person trying to steal the planet. Naya laughed. You disabled an original conquered protocol. It was badly configured. That protocol predates your species. Bad configuration ages extremely well. The second beacon adapted. It transmitted a stronger authority request. The third changed frequency. Our anchors shook. World stability dropped to 79%. The barrier opened hairline fractures. Through one I saw the true expanse. Not a road. Not a map. A sky full of structures large enough to be mistaken for moons. Ships moving between dimensional currents. Distant lights that Tal later told me were inhabited worlds. For half a second, awe almost broke my concentration. Then something pushed through the crack. A silver geometric construct the size of a building. Not the claimant itself. A survey mechanism. It unfolded above Kadara. Karim's Golden Lion Jin raised weapons. Naya shouted, "Do not attack." The construct emitted a pressure wave. Every normal person dropped to one knee. Karim remained standing. Barely. Sarah's legs bent. I felt it through the entire network. The survey construct was stronger than the drought titan. Not dramatically, casually. It wasn't even a weapon. It was a measuring device. The real ocean had sent us a ruler. The construct scanned Kedora. Then me. Local sovereign, deity. Foundational power confirmed. Conquered signature. It stopped. The silver structure rotated. Conquered signature confirmed. Priority escalation. Naya went pale. That is bad. Tal answered. Very. The three external claim signals suddenly intensified. They had not merely found an unclaimed nursery. They had found a conquered architect. I had become valuable. I hate becoming valuable to strangers. The construct began transmitting my signature outward. I could not overpower it. Naya probably could. Nursery law prevented her from interfering directly unless attacked. Karim definitely could not. So I did what engineers do when they cannot destroy a device. I removed what it needed. The survey construct was holding itself in our world through the fracture. The fracture existed because the barrier lacked synchronized support. World stability reached 91%. I rerouted every non-essential anchor. Markets went dark. Transport gates shut. Lighting faded across 46 sovereign regions. For 6 seconds, millions of people voluntarily surrendered convenience. Resonance surged. 94%. 96%. The survey construct transmitted faster. 98%. The claim beacons began finalizing their signatures. 99%. The mesh asked one question. World Authority REQIRES designation. Enter sovereign network name. I almost said Kedera. Sarah grabbed my arm. No. I wasn't going to say Node 1. You were thinking something worse. She was right. This was not mine to name. I opened the question to all 64 anchors. For 3 seconds, suggestions flooded in. Thousands. Most impossible to translate. One appeared repeatedly across unrelated cultures. A word from an old trade language, once used between Kori caravans, stone-born cities and riverfolk kingdoms. Kedara. Not the city. The older meaning Sarah had claimed on my first day. The place where paths meet. I looked at her. You really didn't invent that. She looked offended. I selected it. World Network, KADARA. The system accepted. Stability reached 100%. The barrier closed. The survey construct vanished between dimensions so quickly that the air cracked. All 3 claim beacons lost access. The ancient gateway erupted in gold light. Notifications filled my vision. Nursery Ring 7 Sovereignty, RESTORED. External Provisional CLAMS rejected. World Network recognized. Conquered Succession acknowledged. Class Evolution available. Sovereign Architect. World Seed Architect. I accepted. Power moved through me. Not borrowed strength. Capacity. The world no longer felt like an unbearable ocean of signals. It became something I could approach deliberately. I understood the anchors. The barrier. The gateway. The structural relationship between territories. I could carry 12 portable mesh anchors beyond Kadara. I could establish limited networks outside my own world. I could now perceive the edge of interworld architecture. Not control it. Not yet. But understand enough to begin. Naya stared at me. What? She shook her head slowly. You just completed a world sovereignty reconstruction, with nursery-level resources. Yes, the normal process requires a trained planetary array team. How many? Usually 200. Karim started laughing. Sarah joined him. I looked at both of them. I dislike the direction this conversation is going. Naya smiled. You wanted to know how impressive you are outside your pond. I waited. She pointed at the repaired gateway. You are still foundational rank by Expanse standards. I sighed. But, she continued, I have never seen a foundational rank world seed architect. That sounded better. How unusual. Tal answered. We do not know. Why? Because there are no living conquered architects to compare you with. Less better. Then the gateway map changed. Something new appeared. A distant blue-white world. Not Kadera. Not part of Nursery Ring 7. My heart stopped. I recognized the continents. Earth. The mesh zoomed in automatically. Africa. The Sahel. Chad. Then N'Djamena. A point beneath the city began glowing gold. First conquered node. Status. SCALED. My mouth went dry. Sarah whispered, You're home. Yes. Naya looked from the map to me. Tal stopped moving entirely. Then 3 red symbols appeared around Earth. External claimants DATCTED. 3. The same number that had tried to claim Kadara. Except these signals were older. Much older. Someone had known about Earth before I was born. 2 months after the Black Sun migration, Kadara looked nothing like the patch of red-black desert where I had first arrived. The original stone platform still existed. Sarah refused to let anyone remove it. She said people needed reminders. Around it rose a city of shaded avenues, bronze latticework, sunstone towers, and pale desert masonry. Spirit baobabs grew beside water channels. Winged couriers landed on rooftop platforms. Stoneborn workshops filled entire districts. Riverfolk maintained gardens built around linked reservoirs. Kori caravans crossed the western gates, wearing copper-gold armor their ancestors would have recognized. At night, the streets glowed with soft amber light fed by a power network that wasted less than 4% of generated energy. I was extremely proud of that number. Sarah remained unimpressed. You helped protect an entire world. Yes. And you are talking about electrical loss. Energy loss. Whatever. It matters. So do shoes. I looked down. One of mine was torn. World Seed Architect. Local legend. Protector of a sovereign nursery world. Still apparently incapable of noticing footwear damage. Some problems transcend cultivation. The Red Horizon frontier changed quickly after the barrier crisis. Horizon Shield still existed. Karim still led it. But the coalition had become something closer to what it claimed to be from the beginning. A military, mutual defense organization. Member territories kept their cores. Emergency powers had expiration conditions. Resource contributions were published. Karim hated some of those rules. Which reassured me. A man who enjoys every limit placed on him probably wrote the limits himself. Helix tried contacting him through Earthlink channels when the Realm Selection communication window reopened. They offered him increased funding. Extra personnel. Orders. He refused the orders. Accepted some of the funding. Karim remained Karim. Improvement did not require personality replacement. He visited Kadara regularly. Usually to argue. Once to apologize. That happened privately. No audience. No dramatic speech. He stood beside Little Moon Basin and said, I destroyed your career because admitting you were right would have cost me status. I waited. I told myself I was protecting the project. You were protecting yourself. Yes. What do you want me to say? Nothing. That surprised me. I am telling you because you deserve the truth. I nodded. That was enough. Not forgiveness. Not friendship. But enough. Sarah became Kadara's first elected network marshal. She rejected the title I suggested. Regional Coordination Lead. She stared at me for 5 full seconds, then registered network marshal before I could object. Toma became chief hydrologist. He still cooked occasionally. We implemented regulations. Kibo received his replacement resonance crystals. 2. He demanded 3. I refused on principle. The 46 sovereign regions that created the world mesh eventually became 61. Then 70. Participation remained voluntary. Some worlds and territories chose only barrier integration without economic or military mesh access. Others built deeper networks. The important part was that they chose. That became the lesson I had resisted from the beginning. My talent was not powerful because it connected things. Plenty of systems connected things. Helix connected power grids. Karim connected territories. Empires connected subjects. The mesh became powerful because every connection could say no. I had spent years believing redundancy was the foundation of resilient infrastructure. I had been wrong. The real foundation was independence. A node you cannot lose is not a node. It is a hostage. That understanding changed how the World Seed class behaved. The more independent authority I preserved, the more resonance the network generated. Apparently, whoever created the conquered path had understood politics better than I did. Annoying. The caravan of 12 horizons remained for 6 weeks. Nea taught me basic expanse navigation. Tal taught me higher network theory. Jory ate approximately half the fruit available in Kadara and contributed almost nothing except accidentally demonstrating 3 advanced spatial techniques while looking for snacks.